Is there a video? All right, guys, we're back. We had a little technical difficulty the first time. Now we're back for our live lesson at 11:30 Central Time on Mondays. Good to be back. Anybody watching, please make a comment or where you're from, where you're watching from, what you're working on. Maybe some comments or questions for me, but happy to answer those. We will be working on, we're going to do a live lesson in a minute, and while we're waiting on everybody to join, we'll talk about what we're going to work on, and that is sharps. It always seems like everyone is scared of sharps. Everyone is afraid of playing in sharps, even more so than flats. It's like, well, I'll take flats over sharps any day. And I admit that's true for me as well. I don't know why it's that way, why we're, don't want to play in sharps. In fact, we'll not play something because it has sharps and be afraid of it, whether it's in, regular music notation or if it's in my style that I do on the website where I just, write the letters. Even a lot of sharps just kind of scares people. So we're going to look at that today. Hopefully I'm going to make it less scary for you and let you, get more comfortable with it. But, it's like anything else. It's the more you do it. And I think because we tend to stay away from sharps, that's the main reason why we're never comfortable with them, because we don't want to do them in the first place. So it's what you're comfortable with. In fact, if I'm used to playing in a lot of sharps for a while, and then I have to go back to the key of C or the key of G or the key of F, then it's kind of difficult because I'm so used to playing in sharp. So that's a testament right there. It's what you're used to. And I don't want you to go through not playing music just because you're afraid of playing on the black keys or afraid of the sharps. So we're going to look at that today a little bit, give you some tips. Now, this is a Bach Prelude, but what I'm going to show you, it's going to apply to everything, whether you're playing, Stevie Wonder writes in all these weird keys. He'll write in 7 sharps, or 6 flats or whatever. And I don't want you to, not play those songs because you're scared of them. In fact, what I'm going to show you here is going to help you to play in those keys and hopefully get you on the road to not being afraid of playing sharps. Shauna, do we have any questions or comments from anyone? Yet? Not yet? Okay. So again, if you're watching live, let us know who you are, where you're from. That's always kind of cool to do that. But let me play a little bit of this for you, okay? This is a Bach Prelude in C sharp major. That means there are 7 sharps, okay? So let's go to the keyboard here. I'll play a little bit of this for you, and then we'll talk about it. And so forth. All right, I'll get the side camera here. So, we have 7 sharps up here. And as you look at that, you may say, that's a little weird. Usually the F sharp is at the top. Yeah, this is the way they used to write it a long time ago. This is an expired copyright version. So way back, they used to write the sharps like that in the key signature. But, you have 7 letters in your scale, right? If you're in C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then you start over back to C. Well, everything is sharped. And I'll tell you what, it's actually easier to play in C sharp major, the key this is in, than other keys, I think, because everything is sharp. You don't have to think about what's not sharp. That's always the problem. What's sharp and what's not sharp? Well, in C sharp major, everything is sharp. So just sharp everything. So I think that actually makes it a little bit... Okay. Yes, I think so too. And it could have... Huh? Oh, that's right. All right, so someone just asked, why is this not written in D flat major, which is the same key? Okay, if I play this in D flat major, it sounds like this. It's the same exact thing. It's just a different way of writing the music out. So this could be written in D flat major, which has 5 flats, which that would be easier, right? And then you have those 5 flats, and so you have 2 that aren't flat, and everyone is more used to playing in D flat, and it sounds exactly the same. It's not going to sound any different to your ear. Why write in that key? Well, there's certain reasons why we will modulate to C sharp during a song. If we're in another key, why C sharp would work better. It's just the formation of the relationships between the chords. I don't want to get too technical here, but it really does, make sense to sometimes play in C sharp because of the other key you're in. And Bach knew that. And I think that's why he wrote a prelude and fugue for every note, all 12. Okay, he understood the numbers 12 and number 7 and number 3, which are biblical numbers. If you are a believer, you know that numbers 12, 7, and 3. And I think the preludes and fugues had a lot to do with that. Bach's understanding of our Creator and how he formed music and how that relates to truth and everything. So I think he understood that we need to be well versed in the key of C sharp major, because that helps us if we're ever playing in, the key of A, and maybe it modulates to C sharp for a while, because you want the modulation in the song to be part of the key you're playing in. If we're in the key of A and then we go to C sharp, okay, I'm not going to call that D flat because A is a sharp key. Okay, so I'm not going to go to the key of D flat because that doesn't make sense. Theory-wise, just looking at the music on paper, I want it to make sense. So we're modulating to C sharps. That's 7 sharps any way you cut it. And so that's why if we actually play and learn to play in this key of C sharp, it will help us when that happens in regular music, because it has to happen sometime. And it just if you can play in 7 sharps, it helps you to play in other keys that have sharps. So it's just being a complete player. So that's a long answer there, but that's the reason why we don't just play it in D flat, all right? And Bach understood that, I think. So, and I'll tell you a problem that I really have with my ear in a minute. But let's get back to the board and talk about the sharps here. So everything is sharped. Not one thing is not sharp. And before I actually play it in this key again, I want to show you a really cool trick. If something is in C sharp major, you can forget all the sharps and just play the note heads as they are, and you can transpose it to C. Listen to that. No sharps, no flats. I'm just looking at the note heads, pretending. There we go. My brain, stay on track here. All right, so I just played it in the key of C. I just forgot all the sharps and flats, because you can look at the note heads and they're going to be exactly the same until you have a sharp or a flat within the song, within the piece, an accidental, a double sharp or a natural sign or something. Then you've got to account for that. Yeah, but most of the way you can get through it just playing the note heads. In the key of C, that's kind of a neat way to transpose. Okay, back to the keyboard here. So I have all 7 sharps. Everything is sharped, even the E. Now look at this. So you have E, C, and G, but they're all sharped. E sharp is like playing an F, okay? And yes, it is like playing a D flat chord. And I'm going to go ahead and share with you the little problem that I have when I play in this key. And it all has to do with what it looks like. Because when I hear this chord, I cannot make my brain think C sharp. I always think D flat. For whatever reason, maybe when I was a kid, that stuck. And then I can't change it. When I hear this chord, I always think A flat. I don't think G sharp major. Because that's not even a real chord, really. I guess it is, but I hear an A flat chord. And so to look in sharps but hear flats because of the perfect pitch thing, because I can't change that. The way my ear hears it and the way my brain analyzes it, or the immediate reaction in my brain, I can't change that. Believe me, I've tried. So that's a struggle I have when I play in this key, because I'm looking at sharps but I'm hearing flats, and I constantly have to battle with that. So that's my own little struggle that I have with it. So I hear you, guy. Whoever said, why not write it in D flat? What? Okay, yeah. So, that's a very valid point there. I hear that. So, but we need to, be able to play in sharp. So it's good to try this, and I recommend 7 sharps, because then everything is sharped. You don't have to worry about what's not sharp. That's always the problem, right? What's sharp, what's not sharp, that's what slows you down. But if you know everything is sharp, then there's no question. All right, so going back to here. All right, so first one we have E sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Believe it or not, that is a C sharp chord, C sharp major, all right? C sharp on the bass. Okay, everything is sharped. So when you play this, just know everything is sharped, and also play blocked. Listen to this. I call this clustering. I don't know if that's a real term or not, but that's what I call it. And it really helps me to get my hands in place for each measure, because it's just a chord. Look, I just take all the notes and I squish them together, and I do that. Okay? And then when I go, I feel that pattern underneath my fingers when I do this. Okay? So I go to the next one, I squish all the notes together, and I get that. Okay? That one we have D sharp, C sharp, F sharp, C sharp. Everything is sharped. I go to the next one, cluster that, G sharp, G sharp, C sharp. Whenever I have a lot of sharps, it's hard because saying sharp all the time is hard. All right, so there you go there. Then you go here, A sharp, C sharp, left hand on F sharp. That's an F sharp major chord. Back to this one. So I have, you can even do this. In fact, I will do that way sometimes when I'm practicing, just to kind of make it loose for me, make it feel comfortable, and just kind of enjoy it a little bit, is to change the rhythm and cluster it up a little bit. Let me show you some ways. You can go. All I'm doing is clustering. Every measure, I squeeze all the notes together. Now, I can't really do that on these measures because they have scales in them. But on the other ones, I can. Starting right there. There's a note. B sharp is like playing a C. So when I play that, I hear an A flat chord. Can't help it. I just hear it. I can't make myself hear a G sharp chord. So that's my struggle. So actually, those of you who have really good relative pitch are in a better position to play this than guys like me. You won't have that struggle. There we go. And then, there we go. So there's more scales. Double sharp. Anybody know what a double sharp is? Little X. That's usually the point when somebody says, forget this, I'm not doing this. When they see a little X there. It's called a double sharp. And it means, if you have an F sharp, you know where to do that. An F double sharp means you go up even another half step. So it's like playing a G. And then people will say, well, why not just write a G? Let me show you why. So you're right here. It's a D sharp 7 chord. Okay. And a D chord has D, F, A. D, F, A. And here's my problem. I'm going to have to really think about this, because I hear E flat, G, B flat, D flat, D, F, A, C. There we go. All right, so there's my chord. Okay. Now I need to call that, since this is, D, F, A, C. They're all sharps. D sharp, A sharp, C sharp. I need to call this an F so that it is in the realm of a D chord. D, F, A, C, right? You know that. D, F, A, C, your triad vocabulary. That's why we have a double sharp, so that the notes are D, F, A, C. If I wrote a G, then it's not a chord anymore, because we have to have D, F, A, C. And then we plug our flats and sharps in to make, to get the quality of chord we need. But it must be D, F, A, C if I'm going to call it a D chord, okay? For the same reason, if I were to call this an E flat 7, I would call this a G, not, an A double flat, because that's not part of an E flat chord. E, G, B, D would be, but so that's why we have double sharps there. So clustering, if I cluster this, it's a good way to practice on a lot of things. Because guys, I've told you this before, but music is just chords and scales. It really is. It can all be boiled down to chords and scales. And when you have those chord patterns going on, if you cluster them, it really helps you in anything, in any type of music. It doesn't matter if it's current music or music that was written 300 years ago. It all has the same relationships, and clustering is a great way to practice. Here's another great way to practice, and that is going to be, one measure at a time. So if we just took that measure, get the right hand down, take the left hand, get it down. Okay, and then I put both hands together. Those of you who follow my lessons know this very well. Then we do it again, second time. And we do it 3 times. So now I have that first measure. Instead of trying to play the whole thing, biting off more than I can chew, I'm just going to do that one measure till I get it. And then I move on. So let's move on to the second measure. So I have this one. Yes, a question.
How do we determine dynamics in Bach's pieces when it isn't written in the sheet?
Okay, and okay, yeah, someone said, how do we determine Bach's dynamics? Dynamics are how loud and soft we play, forte, piano, when it isn't written in the music. Very good question, and I have a feeling this person may know the answer, since to ask that question, they might know the answer to that. So Bach didn't typically put how loud. Now Beethoven, on the other hand, wrote everything. He wrote when to play soft, when to play loud, when to crescendo. Every little single thing he would mark up, the score, how he wanted it to be done. But Bach didn't do that because in the time it was written, you were expected to do those things yourself. But one of the reasons is because if you play something on a harpsichord, which they didn't have a piano back then, although it was a very new instrument and it wasn't, everybody had a harpsichord or a clavichord, you couldn't play loud and soft. It was one volume, unless you had a harpsichord that had 2 manuals and you can make one louder and then softer. But it wasn't an easy thing to do. So there was like one volume. Even on the clavichord, you could manage to play a little bit, have a little bit of dynamics, play louder or softer, but not a lot. On the organ, too, you had a swell pedal, but it wasn't something we could easily do on the instruments back then. So you have to keep that in mind because they didn't have a piano, really, the modern piano. But we do want to have dynamics in there, so it's a matter of really personal taste. I'm not a big fan of the elite pedagogues who insist on a certain way and we do it this way and this is the only way. I really don't feel that's the intention of music. I feel like there's a lot of freedom there in dynamics and pedaling and things. Now you can do too much. You can go overboard with it. But I think just whatever you're feeling at the time when you're playing it, I think is okay dynamically. And you don't have to decide one thing and that's the only way you ever do it. If I wanted to play this soft, just light, that's kind of what it is to me. See, I'm getting softer. Then loud maybe, or soft. So you could make an argument either way. And I'll tell you, the best piano teachers are those ones who bring out the students' ideas. You ever seen those in a master class? There's certain ones that say, do this, do this, do this. Okay, whatever. But then there are those teachers that actually they include the student in the decisions and bringing the music to life and to get them to decide and do things. Those are the best teachers that bring that out, that spirit within each of us that is able to be creative and make decisions musically, because none of us are going to play this thing the same. This score right here is only half of the music. The other half is you breathing life into it and making it something beautiful. And it can be soft places, it can be loud in certain places. And speaking of dynamics, yeah, you want to have dynamic contrast. Don't play everything the same volume, but you should decide what you want to do here. Don't think, or what does Bach want me to do, or what is done, what is in good taste. Yeah, we want to be in good taste, but what do you feel you want to do at that moment as an artist, as a musician yourself? So there we go. All right, we're at 19 minutes. So if anybody has any more questions, this would be a good time, or comments on anything. If you're on webpianoteacher.com and you're playing something in a lot of sharps or flats for that matter, or you see that, don't let that discourage you. Again, it's what you're used to, okay? I remember my grandmother actually taking lessons. I was a little kid, and I remember the person coming over didn't read any notes. They were just, teaching her some songs, and they were teaching her to play, like they just said, on the black keys. So everything was in G flat or D flat or A flat, and she couldn't really play on the white keys. They were, for whatever reason, that's what she was doing, and it's what she was used to. So she could do that because that's what she was used to. It's what you're used to. And how can you get used to it if you never do it? So if you open up one of the songs on the side and it's got a lot of sharps or flats, don't be afraid of that. Just jump in and get used to those chords. If you only play on the white keys, that's all you're going to be able to do. If you only play here in the middle of the piano and never branch out, that's all you're going to ever be used to. So you kind of have to push yourself a little bit to get to new territory. So anyway, that's my theory on sharps and what to do with them, how to get used to them, how to make them a part of your playing. And if you like playing Bach, this is a good one to do, this prelude. Now, the fugue of this is quite difficult, so I wouldn't tackle that. But maybe a page of this, I think you definitely could try, since everything is sharped.
So this isn't I just have a question.
Okay.
Do you have somebody you like to listen to that plays this piece?
Oh, yeah.
Tell everybody what I said.
This is great. Great question. Do I have someone that I listen to that plays this piece? It's very good to listen to a variety of people to play something you're listening to. Not only this, if you're learning an Elton John cover or whatever, it's good not to listen just to one recording. And it is definitely good to listen to something with all the wealth of content we have out there that we can listen to, even for free in a lot of ways. So I like to listen to Rosalind Turek, for one, because she's my old piano teacher, Dr. Jack Roberts, who is in the line of Bartok. Bartok taught some students, and then my teacher was taught by those guys, so that's pretty cool. But he recommended Rosalind Turek. She's a great Bach interpreter, and she's not with us anymore, but she has some great recordings she did in the 50s. I like the way she plays because it's not just super fast. She's not trying to dazzle. She's not playing fast because she can. She's playing it in a way that I think the music is just meant to be played. I love her recordings. I also like to listen to Andras Schiff because he's a great Bach interpreter, and he's very different than Rosalind. I've started listening to Glenn Gould a little bit. I never could listen so much because he sings when he plays, and he really can't sing. And so it sounds like somebody's getting tortured in the background almost sometimes, the way that but I'm learning to listen because it's very cool what he did with Bach. So people are either thinking he's awesome or they think he's, blaspheming Bach's music or something. I don't know. But I love it because it's different, and he wasn't afraid to play it differently. So that's really cool. So listen to everything you can. The more you listen to, the more it's going to improve your playing. Not just don't just spend all your time playing, spend time listening. All right. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. I think I'll turn back to the front here. So, if any of you guys want to try this piece and send me a couple of bars of it, you don't have to learn everything, right? You can just learn 2 or 3 lines and get what I'm telling you on this. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, okay? So that'd be fine. Or something else that you're playing you want to send to us, we'd love to have that. Hope you guys enjoyed the live lesson today. See you next Monday at 11:30 Central Time.